Hello and welcome to everybody. This is Witch Talks under Democratic Dialogues, and this is me, your host, Devsurabhee Yaduvanshi, and I'm joined by none other than Dr. Shilpa Singh, who's here with us. Uh, Before I get into introducing her, a bit about this particular segment. So, Witch Talks I started this specifically to talk about women in the public space, women in public life, because even today in the 21st century, it's quite the challenge for women to be in uh, public space, to be in public lives, and each of them have a story to tell, and in different fields, in as many fields that women are in, they have those many stories to tell. And of course, the things that we would have been called witches for a few centuries ago. So hence we are leaning into that adage, and that's why we call this segment Witch Talks. So welcome, Shilpa Singh. It's an amazing thing to have you with us. I can't do full justice to introducing you, so if you can please speak a bit about yourself and give your background to all the viewers.
Thank you so much, Devsurabhee, for inviting me for your channel, and I look forward to having an amazing discussion today. I'm Shilpa Singh, and usually I don't like to talk about myself. I have been a part of Indian academics, especially based in Goa, for last 11 years. I have been teaching since I was age of 21-year old. So teaching has happened to me very, very early in my life. So, and also, I would not talk about my qualifications because that is something you can always Google also. So, rather, I would say that as an academic, people identify me as somebody who is unusual, somebody who is unusual in the field of academia, because I tend to have a very huge understanding and development of mental faculties that I have developed by my own struggle as part of academia. So I would say that rather than going by the mainstream academic, means how the mainstream academics are, their function is to make a curriculum and to present a syllabus and teach in the classroom as per the mainstream epistemological frameworks. But me as a teacher have sought to go beyond those mainstream epistemological framework, and I always try to see the alternative picture. I try to invoke critical reasoning abilities among the students, and always means my I have been a student of science. Curiosity is something which is very natural to me. So even when I shifted to humanities and I started doing political science, especially during my masters, I think that of itself I had developed critical reasoning faculties for myself. And even if somebody used to talk about war, I was doing international relations. The mainstream understanding of war and how I used to see war so I would say that I'm academic, but who is not into like a feeble clerical staff who is not ready to do any kind of critical reasoning and simply reproduce the existing episteme in a very, very monotonous and very, very, what you can say, rancid manner, the way ruling classes want us to reproduce. So I try to bring the
Yeah.
alternative perspective in my classroom. So that's how you
Thank
can
you for
see
this
that.
introduction
Yeah.
about yourself, uh, which brings me to the first question that I want to, have addressed with you. Um, you've been, you've seen political witch hunting firsthand and have seen the cost of, or borne the cost of being outspoken. Could you share some of your firsthand experience in this regard?
Sure, sure. So I would like to say that in the year when I started teaching, uh, there was like I myself was a student because 21-year-old person cannot be the teacher. So I used to teach students and I used to learn by myself. But over the years, gradually, I I, I think because of excessive reading and also my very curious critical mind. I was able to read varied number of literature, and especially I used to look for the critical literature. So basically, Marxist literature was something that I got really introduced to and interested by my own self, and also other critical studies which are involved in the study of politics. So I was a very simple teacher, and since I have means academically I have been bright. So any interview where I used to go, I used to be selected as first, whether it was my first teaching assignment or whether it was my 5 year instinct at Goa University. It was such that any interview that I would go, I would be selected, at least for contractual job that we are having in Goa. So I was teaching fine. In 2018, first thing happened. I had, because I was teaching a strategic studies paper for 2 years then, maritime security in Indian Ocean to MA political science students at Goa University. So, see, I was also a student, and that was my favorite paper. When I was a student, that particular what you can say subject was taught maritime security in Indian Ocean, and it was my favorite topic. And I would just like to tell you that time I was like a strategic studies fan. I used to read about Indian Navy, and I had a little bit nationalist rhetoric also to me. But when I became a teacher and I started teaching the same paper, I became a different person. So despite it was a strategic study paper, like there is a very important theory there, Alfred Hayes Mahan's theory of sea power. So usually how strategic studies teacher or international relations teachers teach, they teach in a very hawkish manner. Like they try to bring the superpower rivalry and how Pax Americana happened or how Pax Britannica happened. They try to snowball into like what you can say the monstrous war between the two great powers or something like that. So over the years, teaching that paper, suppose first year I taught in the same red manner. But second year onwards, I started feeling restless that if I continue to reproduce this topic in the same manner, I would not do justice to. So I brought in the critique of militarism. I brought in the critique of militarism because I was reading Rosa Luxemburg that time, and she had mentioned that how militarism is a tool of accumulation in times of financial crisis and distress. So that was my first critique of militarism that I developed, and I used to distribute some articles also to students how capitalism, militarism, and nationalism is combined, and I used to discuss that important things in classroom. So critique of militarism, critique of nationalism, and I called the sea power theory of Mahan as imperialist propaganda in my classroom. That was part of the syllabus, but I called it imperialist propaganda and how it led to scramble for colonies. So means that has been means, and I think so. Any teacher has freedom of absolute autonomy in classroom how to go about the subject that she's teaching. Every teacher will have
Absolutely.
different way of teaching. So I will absolutely offend. See, suppose somebody is teaching static studies in a very hawkish manner. It's her or his domain. I don't interfere. Like she or he has academic freedom. I too have academic freedom as a teacher, and I would like to teach the way I want to. So that's why I used to, because see, teachers knowing all these this rancid way of reproducing the strategic studies without any critical understanding, and me being a woman, how I can support those wars, and how I would not talk about disarmament, how I would not talk about dismantling the entire edifice of military industrial complexes. So despite I used to teach what was the Maha's theory in a very, very proper manner, I used to provide the critique also. So basically going by the same thing, because I was teaching that. So somehow I saw in news, Avni Chaturvedi, some lady had become Air Force fighter pilot. Air Force fighter pilot. So there was
Hmm.
hullabaloo on internet that she's the feminist icon, and or the this that comes no, this is real feminism and this is fake feminism. That Miss Indra
Yes,
and
yes.
all those are fake feminism, and Avni Chaturvedi represents the real feminism. So I just
Yeah,
made a
yeah.
small post critique
Typical
that she
tokenism.
is not, yeah, yeah. It's not feminism. She is part of the capitalist patriarchy where militarism is a field of accumulation. If she is flying the Rafale jets, it will make whom rich and who it will cause all kind of damage. So I said she is going to bombard the human settlements only. So it is a masculine power of the state, a very what you can say, very, very, what you can say, vulgar manifestation of masculine power to support militarism or any kind of such violence. I just written a post that she is patriarchal slave because she is reproducing the logic of militarism. Rafale deals make whom rich. It makes the defense baron rich, and the lobby which exists for defense companies, especially in the West, to support the military industrial complex. So this is something that I had written, and that was my first face off when my ideas went beyond classroom and things started to snowball. So basically, there were right wing elements. I don't know, not in my friend list, or maybe somebody, because I always post public. So it became viral. There were like all those pages, right wing pages, which try to abuse me, that she is patriarchal slave, she is jealous and whatnot. So, but it reached to the level that that time Manohar Parrikar was, I think, defense minister. Somebody tagged him also in Twitter handle that this is your faculty of Goa University and she is riding patriarchal slave. So that happened, but I think Parikar was relatively much progressive, so he did not pay heed, neither he intervened on this matter. So unlike my later episode, Parikar, despite seeing it, had not intervened or tried to remove me from university. So that thing you have to acknowledge that within right wing there were certain leaders who were having some sense and they supported academic autonomy of the teacher. So that was my first face off, and incidentally, it became viral, and everybody, like, there were some journalists, my friends, who came to interview me. So basically, they were saying that she's another Gajeri from Goa, like Arundhati Roy. So there was comparisons happening that she is like Gauri Lankesh, she's like Arundhati, she's talking that kind of shit. So all trolls on internet started talking about, but also like some sexual assault threats. Like these are the random things which happen with every woman who is outspoken. So all those men that we will send her to border, we will send her to Pakistan, and there they will do justice with her. She cannot stay in India. So those kind of things, and so and everybody told me that time to deactivate my Facebook. They said it's snowballing into big things. But I was adamant and I said, I have done nothing wrong. And this is my intellectual position. And I'm firm on this position. I'm not going to delete it. So I did not delete it. But that time, as I told you, the leaders were progressive relatively. So it did not came on my job. And I continued to teach at Goa University with ease. So that was my first experience of being trolled by, because I expressed certain opinion on social media and it went viral. So, but one thing that I just
And
want to tell you, there was also like people try to prove that I'm not a Hindu because accidentally I'm Hindu by birth. So they were like that she's Goan, she's Catholic, she has kept a fake name, she's pretending to be Hindu in order to create a Hindu phobic or India phobic or means anti-nationalist rhetoric. So that was the first time I think so I was called anti-national in a public glare for, and I don't think so. Means what is anti-national? Means anti-national how you see it. I was just expressing my critical opinion on what I deem as perfect critique of militarism. So I never
absolutely.
apologized even that time, despite people asking, because I was adamant, I'm firm on my convictions. I cannot trade off it for anything else. So, but certainly I was lucky because the leadership was not that jingoistic or going after a particular person or teacher just because she has expressed her opinion. So that was my first face off.
Yeah.
So in
Yeah,
year
so I mean,
2020,
coming from what, just to
yeah,
add to what you were saying just now, that the thing of being called an anti-national, I myself have been called that so many times I've lost count. I'm sure you must have as well, lost count of it. But of course, I will be addressing a question related to this later. But I think my 2 cents about it is that the very fact that you're a citizen of a country, which is a democratic, secular nation, and you have the freedom of speech and expression, you can express your sentiments, your thoughts and everything, as long as it is not against the security of the nation, as long as it does not become a detriment to the nation. And that is like too far down the road, like, so these sort of things which you mentioned, it's so flippantly flung around for a person you actually have a disagreement with, which is not justified at all, you know. But yeah, I mean, simplistic and I would say stupid arguments seem to be the strong suit of the right wing. We'll come to that later. Um, with this, I also wanted to, since you shared this experience with me, there's the one side of political witch hunting that you have experienced. There's also the other flip side of it, which is, you know, another side of the same coin, is sexism. Now, as a woman in academia, and you're an opinionated person, that everybody can, who follows you, who reads your posts, they know that you're an opinionated person. You have your own thinking, your thought process, and how you analyze issues. So, what are the challenges that you faced in academia, being a woman in 2024, and in how many ever
Yes,
years that you've
yes.
worked?
I would just tell about a little bit of back also. So, in the year 2019, I had joined a law college. So, when I went and started teaching in law college, there were certain, see, there was one section of people who were talking a very bright girl is coming to teach and she is very good. But as soon as I started taking lecture, I heard from a senior faculty that there are people who are saying that she will teach law students a very critical thing and they will get with what you can say distracted. So just try to be neutral, just try to be. So this started just for the first year. So I was fine with it, and I just tried to be more, you can say, means giving a balanced perspective. I tried to do that. But what happened in 2020? I was attending a normal meeting with my colleagues. It was a college-based meeting, and I was part of NAC committee, so I was doing my work. Suddenly, in midst of the meeting, the office staff came with a letter, and he handed over that letter to me. The letter was from ABVP. So as soon as I saw the envelope, I realized that content of this, what could be the content of this. So as soon as I opened, it was written that she's horrendous teacher. She's trying to say brainwash the law student and she's threat to integrity and territory of country. She is promoting animosity between the students, and if she's not removed within 24 hours, we will have a violent or some kind of massive agitation against the teacher as well as against the college. So I'm just trying to tell you, I was not so much shocked as much as my colleague was shocked after reading the letter. Their hands started shivering and they became like, "What is this? What have you taught?" So this was the question. And I was very cool and I was very cool. And when I went to explain to the seniors, I said that I have been teaching normal lectures like I have been teaching for last 10 years. What is something to worry about? I don't have anything to prove. So I was adamant, I was very firm on that what I have taught is perfect as per the what an academic should teach in the classroom. So basically, there were some AVBP or the what you can say writing students in my classroom who had leaked my online lecture, and they showed it to their bosses at the big offices, and their bosses found that this woman is something more than what we can digest because she's giving critical perspective of the state. She's talking about means the class relations within the state, because see there are like chapters on Marxist perspective on the state, liberal perspective on the state, and like feminist perspective on the state. So as a political science teacher, I have to teach all with equal passion. See, suppose if I'm teaching the liberal perspective of the state, I'm equally passionate. I will tell from the start of J.S. Mill to the modern liberalism that how liberal state has been established. Same way for the Marxist conception of the state, how it views states. So I just gave example of Mahan coal block, and you know a very important thing in Tamil Nadu where it's a live protest. You know that 2 3 people were shot by the private militia of the business class. So all just these two examples and little more I had given in the classroom. And but remember, these were 2 months back. These lectures were 2 months back, and incidentally, people used to ask me questions on the like some students deliberately just to instigate me and on CAA. So like all controversial topics, but I used to handle those with a lot of ease. Means I used to give all the perspective, but I used to handle them with a lot of ease. And this was in the start of the academic
Hmm.
year, like June I started teaching, and this letter came in October. And like as a teacher,
Hmm.
means I have a very interactive class, and I always asked students to at least give me certain inputs, and almost all the students had my number. Means I'm a very, very open teacher, and you see, I would just like to tell you that when I go in classroom, since I teach Foucault also, Foucault's radical view of power.
Hmm.
So I say that power should means as a teacher, I don't want to exercise power over you because the means
Hmm.
not just the age difference is not very high, but means the teacher should not be authority to exercise power over somebody. It should be a mutual exchange.
Hmm.
So this is what I make it
Hmm.
clear in the start of my any batch of students that I have. I always say that I don't want to exercise power over you, but you should be responsible for your own self. So this power relation should not exist in academia. So this is what something, and
Hmm.
I'm just trying to tell you that it's not just that has come to me now. I mean, as an academic also, I feel very, very, what you can say, very, very offended and very, very, what you can say, repulsed since when I was a student and when I became academic still remain the same. The two line of chairs that we have. I'm just trying to tell you means how academia unconsciously reproduces the sofa for the VIPs and the back chairs for normal chairs for the audiences. See, this is something that I
Hmm.
cannot stand in academia. Means I think once you talk about equality, egalitarian order, and high philosophy, though not all talk, but at least you allege your constitutional preamble that we believe in equality. Yes, what is that? What is that? That is class infringed. There's a class infringed
Hmm.
practice of having a separate sofa. So means at least in I think so that seminars or something that I've organized. I don't think so. I have followed that trend, or even in my university. Means at least when I was part of Goa University, my teachers in my department was very egalitarian, so they don't used to do this kind of stuff. But certainly means we used
Hmm.
to discuss with my teachers. I used to discuss with my teachers that this is a practice that I cannot tolerate. So means my rapport with the students is philosophical again. Means it's not that I simply go
Hmm.
like a monster or the dictator in classroom and I start teaching something because that is not the way the learning has to happen. I say that there is no power relation between me and you. We are part of a learning environment. So in this scenario, if somebody had a problem with my lectures, they could have told me directly on spot. You understand, no? Because I'm so open to students.
Yeah.
But this not happen. There's no organization which has no locus standi to dictate me on classroom. Because see, even those AVPP students who were part of my, they never revealed that they had problem with me. It was just the
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
AVPs, non-college means people who had said that they have problem with the teacher. So it was a organization, nothing to do with my class dictating on me that I should be removed from job. So means it was high-handedness, and a very, very what you can say in a very, very terrible taste. It was not done a very means it was I think so all this was building up from the past and all this became so prominent I think because just 4 days before the letter I would just like to tell you that just 4 days before I received the letter I had cleared Goa public service examination for assistant professorship which was a permanent
Oh.
position and I was the only person from Goa, I was the only person to clear. That was the first ever computer-based test that used to happen, and I was only the one from Goa. So they must have thought, okay, so this woman who is already controversial, she is clearing, and others are not clearing. So we should have to do something to cut her, to clip her wings or something like that. And I think that's when the because you can see, I was teaching from June, and they had problem when I cleared GPSC examination as a sole
Hmm.
candidate from Goa. So means I'm just trying to tell you, means witch hunting is not something which is out of blue. Means there is like a systematic planning sometimes which goes on from a fairly long period of time. Because see, just before that also, I think I was recording certain lectures for DHE, Directorate of Higher Education, and there were certain teachers who had from college level who had cancelled my recording, saying that her lectures are too sophisticated. These are for MA level, doesn't look like BLLB or BA level. So, Miss, and I'm just trying to tell you, Miss, I'm not trying to boast myself, but those lectures were the best because director of higher education had told us that it should be world class content and you should present that
Hmm.
way.
Hmm.
So when I saw my all those lectures recorded, which even the team said that were excellent, were pushed down, they were not uploaded on the platform. And all those
Wow.
means there are certain videos you see such a bad content and pathetic quality videos on politics which were uploaded. So I'm just trying to tell you, means any sensible person when they see how disheartened I must have felt. So that was in August and this happened in October. But I'm just trying to tell you. So there was initiation on part of like teachers to means on some who are part of the network to somehow pull me down and somehow
There
get
was a
my wins.
chronology.
Chronology. There was a chronology. And I'm just trying to tell you one thing. When all this bursted into a big thing and when college refused to remove me, you know that they went and checked my Facebook. They stalked my Facebook and they found a post which was 6 or 7 months old. And using that, they tried to frame me in a fake case, FIR and everything. So I'm just trying to tell you for 2 days, I was I had done no crime, but there was a FIR on me, 295A article, that section of IPC is very
Yeah, yeah,
draconian.
295.
You can be
The
arrested
most
even without,
dangerous.
it's more dangerous. So my lawyer, Ryan Menezes, who was really very, very helpful and who was the person responsible for me getting out of this trouble, he had said that you cannot stay at home after FIR. You are a woman, so you can come back after 7, but 2 days you cannot stay. So 2 days I was loitering all over the Goa, all over the hinterlands of Goa with my phone switched off. I'm just trying to tell you, with nowhere to go. With nowhere to go, I was
Wow.
with my phone switched off. So I'm just trying to tell you for what? For what? This is what I had done. What was my crime? Just because I was a good student. So I'm just trying to tell you means.
So
But see, I
just
personally,
because you
I don't see.
you wanted to share
Yes, yes,
something.
yes,
You were just
yes.
doing your
So I was
job.
just
That's what you
sharing.
did.
Yes, yes. I was just doing a job. So when even for bail, I'm just trying to tell you when my family members said that you should apply for bail for 1 or 2 days, I was like, adamant, no, I have not done any mistake. Let them arrest me. I was saying that I have not done any mistake. Let them arrest me. I don't want bail. But later on, means when lawyer talked and my family seniors they recommended, then I agreed. Okay, I since I'm fighting, I'll be
Hmm.
part of this fight. But one thing that I
Hmm.
never considered myself as a victim. See, either I am a hero or I'm a martyr of my story. I can never be the victim. So I'm not a victim. I still see I'm a fighter. And see, even today I'm smiling and there is no impact on my face that even during the political witch hunt, everybody asked me to deactivate my Facebook and go low profile, do this. That means you should be scared. Like there was also threat coming from Sanatan Sanstha Goa. Some of my journalist friends had said that there is also a threat to your life.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. There was
Wow.
so almost it snowballed into something very big, very very huge. So that time, so for nothing, for nothing, but just for me taking my lectures as a good teacher should take, as a any sensible teacher. So because see, teacher is not a see, though academia is being
Yeah.
reduced to a factory model, but a teacher cannot work as a feeble, mindless, robotic clerk who is simply to augment the ideology of ruling classes and not ready to dissect anything. Academics' job
Hmm.
is to
Hmm. Hmm.
dissect the mainstream epistemological framework, bring the alternative.
Yeah.
And since, as you were talking about that, see, classroom, see, in public domain, I understand that we cannot talk against the idea of sovereignty, integrity, but classroom is a space which
Hmm.
is independent of them. Like, especially a political science classroom. So suppose if I'm teaching political theory paper, and on the stage, on the question, there is an entire chapter on the stage. So always means in the end, there are n number of articles. I used to discuss about the finality of the stage. Just can we think beyond stage? This is
Hmm.
the open-ended question because the theory is such that it can bring in any question and try to dissect it. So even then, sovereignty
Hmm. Hmm.
becomes what you can say a category which can be dissected. Means not in terms of like the Indian sovereignty or the American sovereignty, but the concept of sovereignty or even the concept of constitution, concept of very law. All this have to be dissected in classroom. See, otherwise, if you see in earlier times that rights had not come, the constitution had not come. I'm just trying to tell you, these all are development of intellectual deliberations and discussions. And you
Hmm.
cannot do
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
alone. Means academy can always do research and do alone, but why not share that with students? So that is something which is very important. Just we have to create generation of students who do not reproduce the existing power relations the way it is. They have to go
But
beyond.
were
So
able
as
to
a teacher,
critically
to
think
get like
for
then yeah,
themselves.
yeah. So I just want to tell you that Smita from in that time she was working in Indian Express. She had called me the day this got leaked. So it's there on record. I have said that for me, as a woman, to do academics is to shoulder some social responsibility. If you curtail that freedom, it is equivalent for me dying. So that was my first word, which was spontaneous. And I continue to say that is my, as a woman, I see academia as something, a domain where I have certain social responsibilities. And if you
Hmm.
curtail my
Hmm.
academic freedom and I cannot do that, it's like death to me. So that's why I'm not contained by somebody, or you can threaten me, you can outcast me. Like I just tell you after this case, I was earlier invited by different colleges for talks and lectures. I'm just trying to tell you, like a special guest for certain forums to talk on, deliver on like certain important topics. Everywhere in Go, I was invited. But after this case, everybody stopped calling me, and this continuing till date. Means I'm just trying to tell you, means suddenly from an
No, this
intellectual
is
superstar, I became dumb. I became dumb who is not
no,
to be
this is
called anywhere.
exactly
So I'm
this
just
is
trying to tell you,
yeah, yeah.
yes,
No, I totally get where you're coming from. It's yeah, people drop you like a sack of rocks, you know. And that is one of the biggest costs of being outspoken, and especially if you've hit the mark. People try to ostracize you, try to make you into a pariah, and it's the very people who don't have the courage to speak up that do this to other people. They might not take a side, but by keeping quiet or by avoiding people who speak out, they are siding with the oppressors. And just to add to what you were sharing about the ABVP, it's really ironical that a statement coming from them says that you were trying to brainwash the students because that organization comes from an organization which works on cultism and cult culture and brainwashing from a very young age. So I mean that's really rich coming from them. Just to put it out there. So that brings me, to my next question, Shilpa, and it's connected to what we've been speaking about. In your perspective, what state is India in right now? I mean, as a democracy, as a sovereign nation, what sort of a state are we in right now? And versus what it should be. So that's my question to
yes,
you.
yes. Actually, this is a question that I would love to answer in 1 hour or more. But I'm just trying to tell you, means if just state, means since I will again become a political theorist here for some time, like when we talk about the state or democratic state, first we have to understand that the democracy that we talk about and the social order, see, we understand that these are the final social point in evolution of human history, the liberal democracy. When we talk about democracy, we have to specific that we are not talking about the entire concept of democracy. We are talking about one and the foremost concept, which is the liberal democracy. So this is
Hmm.
liberal democracy, and the social order under which it operates is capitalism. So usually, after end of history thesis of Francis Yokohama, means the propaganda was to prove that these two are the end point in the evolution of human history. So people will suffice themselves with liberal democracy, and they will suffice themselves with capitalism. So this was the start of neoliberal era, especially in 1990s. So first of all, means any student who is talking about democracy has to understand there can be other forms of democracy also. The democracy that we talk about is an archetype of liberal democracy because that's the democracy all over the world. But that's not the final point. Means there's always a push to develop a more substantive, popular democracy, greater participation, like referendum, recall, these initiatives. So first of all, we have to question. So liberal democracy works within certain constraint already. And if you read on the genesis of liberal democracy, Means see there are a number of good literatures which exalt French Revolution, and certainly the French Revolution should be exalted because this was the basis of the modern republic that we see. But nonetheless, one thing that we have to consider is that the democracy, whether it was Glorious Revolution in England or whether it was French Revolution, it was not for the what you can say interest of the masses. It was to promote the interest of the emerging new classes, which was the capitalist class, who were in contradiction with feudal relations were in contradiction with the
Hmm.
feudal relations. So to promote their interests. So if I just talk about John Locke is regarded as father of what you can say liberalism and liberal democracy many times. And incidentally, Glorious Revolution and you can say to a certain extent French Revolution was also inspired by his ideas American independence for revolution. So John Locke, if you read John Locke, you will understand that he was not a real Democrat. He was not a real Democrat. He was against the liberals and the others who were more democratic than him. He was supporter of slavery, natural slavery. He himself had 10 slaves in his house, I mean, for to take care of his stuff. And his entire idea of democracy that time in England was to support the capitalist agriculture as against the feudal relations in agriculture. So John Locke's
Hmm.
idea was to defend property, not equality, not equality.
Hmm.
This thing has to be considered that right to property is the ultima thule of liberal democracy and it is not the equality. And that's why you see in the constitutions of the modern republic, class is depoliticized. Depoliticized in the sense means you cannot change the property relations. You have to operate from where you exist. Suppose you're born in a poor family, you're born in a rich family, you have to operate from that reality. That reality you cannot
Hmm.
change. Nobody can change because rich have right to property. So everything emanates from that property relation and that cannot be altered. See, it was like if I just tell you land reforms was the act where we tried to alter to certain extent what you can say take the property of the rich and distribute it to the landless. But we know that
Yeah.
how land
Yeah.
reforms fall. They fail miserably, and
Hmm.
nowhere else it was successful. And even like some people even contest like the First Amendment, which is usually proved that it was a socialist experiment. But I'm just trying to tell you, like the Bombay Plan Group was very instrumental in like bringing this First Amendment also because all the land from the feudal lords were to be taken for capitalist enterprise. So like there are layers of
Hmm.
even Indian history that you have to read to find out that how Indian state also since inception had a tilt towards the what you can say the capitalist class. So means I'm just trying to tell you that liberal democracy is something which should not be exalted to a level that you cannot do critique. So when I say depoliticization of class means you can do strike, workers can do strike, but they cannot become owners because owner have right to
Hmm.
property. They can run their mill the way they want.
Hmm.
They can work their factory the way they want. So constitution depoliticizes the class relations. These class relations are something which are inevitable, which are indelible. You cannot touch upon the class
Hmm.
relations. So everything has to happen on top of
Hmm.
that. And it's also my argument that see, they the liberal democracy or the bourgeois civil society is amenable to politicization of identity or culture
Hmm.
because it's
Yeah.
not a tangible class related thing. No, you can always organize on basis of religion, on basis of identity. So that has happened in Indian
Hmm.
democracy also. So I would say that the
Yeah.
trajectory that you see today, the Indian democracy in doghouse, or what you can say, it's not a democracy, it's almost an autocratic rule because the contradictions of monopoly capital has come. Now there is a transition which has happened to the monopoly capital, and history suggests that whether you study the Italian history or whether you study the German history, you will come to know that there are certain stages of imperialism when there is a transition to monopoly capitalism. That means what leads to monopoly capital? See, monopoly capital means few companies which are big capital will sought to control all the resources of the country, all the businesses. They will try to concentrate all the resources in their hand. So when this monopolization happens, small businesses, even middle businesses, they suffer. And when the same gets translated to agriculture, the old, like the farm bills came with the same logic that it wanted to displace the old ruling class of this Green Revolution area and wanted that pie, the monopoly capitalists wanted that pie in their hand. So it is not only the workers who are in contradiction with the monopoly capital. The small business are also in contradiction, and old ruling class are also in contradiction with monopoly capital. So means when these contradictions become so eminent in our society, means you see that small workers or means small businesses are closing down because there is big bazaar or there is like smart bazaar, or like they're not able to have their simple reproduction possible, or like farmers are leaving their small marginal farm holdings and then coming to cities for job. So I mean, this is like the contradiction of capitalism towards monopoly, which is very, very obvious to us. And monopoly capital will require more resources, more iron resources, more coal blocks. Like they will try to go to forest areas to hunt for more land. And you see, like all these contradictions have emerged to a
It's
peak.
all playing out.
Oh, how to?
It's
Yeah,
all
it has
playing
all
out.
coming out. So what we need? Because you cannot have democracy. If you have democracy, it means that no monopoly interest cannot be taken care of. So you have to. So means I would say that it has been historically the tendency of a particular political party to the right, or some also call this as the fascist, to control this contradiction, to manage this contradiction, so that the pathway can be created for further consolidation of monopoly capital. So, like many people say, no, that
Mm.
why yeah, BJP is able to, means you see the support of monopoly capital that they receive. You have to see,
Yeah,
means you
yeah.
have to see, means if any party, mean monopoly capital tomorrow support Congress, even Congress fortune will come. It's not like that. I'm just trying to tell you, if they support tomorrow Congress, even that will transform. So it is because monopoly capital is totally.
Mm.
So see, many people say that democracy is like people are voting for culture, people are voting for religion. This is certainly true for a certain extent, but you also have to see that even so many mandates have been hijacked by the use of money. Even the case of Goa itself,
Yes.
people did not vote it for the
Yep.
culture, or people voted for the normal issues. Or means n number of cases, like earlier it was in Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh. So means you have to see that means culture. Yes, yes, I understand that all those Hindutva ideology and Ram Mandir and all, but I don't think so that they are so close to people as compared to the money power. Because in money power, like you can distribute money like anything. So I would say that this is
Yeah.
something that any political scientist has to consider that, and it is very objective. See, I'm not putting any value judgment here. I'm giving an objective reality that when monopoly capital consolidates the reality, there is a requirement of a political party which is trying to put very majoritarian autocratic tendencies to manage those contradictions. Otherwise, if
Yeah.
democracy,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
small peasants, small shopkeepers will come and they will come on road, and when they come on road, you see what happens to them. So, so
Yeah. Same
UPA
as how it
section
happened with our
44.
farmers. So whoever has tried to come
Yes,
out and
yes.
protest
Even in
on
Goa,
any
you know,
issue.
not so many times the section, yeah, the section
Yeah.
144 is
Yeah.
imposed that more than five people did not come. So, like even during COVID,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
this is how they are managing the contradictions.
No, no,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
I would say that this is how I
Um,
see the democracy. So we are in a very sad state. But this is a historical
it
tragedy, I would
certainly
say. But
is.
certainly, Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's no
Brings me to the
all
next
those
question,
democratic
but
characters. Yes.
yeah, next question, but it's a little different. We're going taking a detour from, but it's still along the same lines. I've also noticed that you're an open supporter of Palestine, and by default, that is a very problematic and controversial position to take in the public domain anywhere in the world, especially here. So, what would you tell Indians about this issue and why we should go against Modi's support of Israel? And do you see any similarities between this Indian regime and the state of Israel?
Yes, thank you for your question. I think this is something which is not just concerning me. Even in West, in most prominent Ivy League universities, people have lost their jobs. Professors have lost their tenure. They have lost their job because they supported Palestine. So you can understand the issue is such a pricking nerve of all the ruling classes of the world. So I would like to say that see, India has been traditionally a friend of Palestine. If you read Gandhi, also you will see that he
Absolutely.
supports the Absolutely. So, means traditionally, if you see India as a nation state,
Nehru
even if
was
I
one of the
agree with
first
you,
world
India as a nation
leaders
state,
to recognize Palestine,
to
right?
recognize, yes,
As a
yes, because India's anti-colonial struggle was something which was being taken to other countries, non-aligned movement, and how India became a champion of what you can say decolonization all over. It tried to promote it, decolonization, and I would say that because also to certain extent you can say that the Soviet Union was also at helm, and it was also against colonialism. It was a when as soon as October Revolution had happened, it had freed the colony that it used to consolidate. So there was influence of socialism also to certain extent in Indian means the political formation which we got after independence. So decolonization was very important agenda. So that's why the our consistent support for Palestine was there throughout. But I would say that in 1990s the things transformed, especially after the globalization, and that time India-Israel foreign relations were established in early 90s, and since then. I would say there are a lot of departments in universities across where means you receive funding through US and through Israel, and these are the departments where they have become like apologist of Israel. So like West Asia departments in several universities of India. So like this is a process which has happened gradually. So like if you talk to any hawkish international relations expert, he will always support Israel. And his support to Israel, again, I would not say is based on the academic merit, but more on the xenophobic and what you can say, the hatred, what we refer to as Islamophobia. I would say that means if somebody is supporting Israel, you read their past history or you read their political inclination, you will find out that they have a certain level of Islamophobia, and they try to means demonize the Muslim across the world. So this has been the and see this is not just only in like very charged up academics, like even normal random academics like who are usually very neutral. When you talk about Israel and Palestine, when you talk about October 7, they will see October 7 as a terrorist attack, like immediately. Like they are very neutral and very mid path person. But
Yeah.
as soon as you talk about October 7, no, no, it was a terrorist attack. Hamas is a terrorist organization, and they are reaping what they saw. So these kind of things like is very common in academia. Like hardly anybody to take position after October 7. They have tried to erase the history of the Palestinian struggle. They tried to reduce the entire thing as like I saw on social media also some prominent Muslim personalities who supported from academia who supported Israel. They was sorry who supported Palestine. They were being tagged that just because you're Muslim, you're supporting the terrorist. So, means this kind of understanding is
As if there
something what
is
you can say
no
alien to.
historical context, as if there's no historical context before the 7th of October. That's what the whole world has been pushed into believing.
Yes, I could not hear you properly. Can you please repeat?
No, I'm saying as if there is no historical context to anything that has happened before the October 7th, and there is a historical context to October 7th too. That's been completely erased. Correct? Hello.
Sorry, I could not receive. There's some problem with my ear plugs. So can you just repeat? Sorry for the disturbance.
No, what I was trying to say was that as if there is no historical context to October 7th happening, or any history existing before October 7th that led up to, those series of events. Of course, killing is not justified in any case, but you cannot erase what led up to that. And that's what I also have seen increasingly, is that people take October 7th as a complete standalone issue. Okay, so Shilpa is not with us at the moment. She'll be back. So for all the viewers who are tuned in and watching us right now, we are almost to the end of this segment. Do like, share, and comment, and let us know what you think about this discussion that we've been having between us. We'll just wait for Shilpa to come back. Um, if you support Palestine, please do comment and let us know if you do. Okay, she is back.
Sorry, there was like my battery ran off my
No worries.
earplug, so I had to take my earphone.
No worries. So what I was mentioning was, in addition to what you were saying, Shilpa, is that it's as if, and I'm not surprised, but still surprised to see academics talking in such a way as if there is no historical context to October the 7th, as if there is no historical build-up to October 7th. And of course, no form of killing is ever justified, although human beings love to do it to each other. But the fact is that there is a context behind it. There is an oppressive colonial power, and then there is the oppressed side, and it's not a symmetric uh, war at all. It's not any nothing is symmetric between Israel and Palestine. It's completely asymmetrical in every way. So over
Yes,
to you, if you can continue in sharing your thoughts.
yes,
I
yes,
would
yes,
seriously
yes.
also like to know that what should Indians know about? What are the highlights of this issue particularly, and why is it important for Indians to not support Modi's support of Netanyahu?
Yes, yes. So I would like to say that, see, one of the very important thing that one has to understand that India's relationship with Israel, beyond the smoke screen of Islamophobia and the tendency of the Indian right to demonize Muslims, India is also tilted towards what you can say the US imperialism, and like we have been negotiating since, and this process started not just now, like it started in way back in 90s, and till date, means despite Congress was in power, it was overturing to the US more closely over the years. But like Modi regime, I see, has totally sat in the lap of US on certain on certain occasions. So if you understand geopolitically, rather than means trying to strengthen BRICS or alternative like China and Russia, India, these. And you have to understand the monopoly capitalist of India. They have more interest in the US liberal democracy and like the Google and that thing rather than the specific social formation of China and Russia. So that thing, something has to be, and even you understand that Israel is also one of the very important figure in world military industrial complex.
Absolutely.
It's a very important figure in world industrial complex. And if you see, India has also moved towards privatization over the years. The trajectory of India will move towards greater privatization, and you will see the monopoly capital investing in defense technology. So means there is like a trajectory set up already. They cannot do without Israel. A closer strategic partnership without Israel, they cannot do. So one of the factor that why India is not, means taking a pro-Palestine. See, India is juggling at the times, like they voted sometimes in favor of Palestine at UN. Sometimes they
Hmm.
completely abandoned. So I would say that at present, the India's has made a rupture from its traditional foreign policy of supporting Palestine, but they are still at lurch because in Arab world, means they also have their equations. So I would say that rather than means if you talk from objectively from foreign policy line, means India is not something which very clearly coming out as something. But when you talk about
Hmm.
back home rhetoric and back home usage of Israel for domestic politics, then on that domain you see the complete nonsense, means like Islamophobia. Israel is a like secular democracy since
Absolutely.
they harass Muslims. So the entire occupation of Palestinian occupation of Israel is completely whitewashed because the Zingoism is something else. So means you can say that there are two tracks of domestic foreign policy and the means the foreign policy ramification in domestic, means how they are seeing Israel as a important. So you see on social media like Israel fans have emerged from nowhere and like they see Israel as a. But see, I was very. But what I would say as an academic, see when see we means you can always read and go back to the context of that how the occupation started, how suddenly the great powers after Second World War started that they will build a state for Jews by dragging millions of Palestinians off their homes. So means there's a history that how this artificial creation of Israel happened, and mostly on
Yeah,
religious lines. See, they say that it's a
the
secular
Nakba
democracy.
and all of
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Means the entire Israel, creation of Israel was against the idea of democracy and secularism, if you understand. So means it's a very complex question, and I cannot do justice in mere 2 3 words. So I
of
would like to
course.
say that, yeah, I would like to say that the repercussions of, see, October 7 happened, but after that we saw the massive retaliation by Israel, and we saw the number of children being killed, and like civilian injuries were highest ever in any conflict. We saw 12,000, thirteen
Yeah.
thousand children being killed within first month of offensive. And I'm just trying to tell you, in academia, the lull and the silence that I saw was really, really alarming for me as a, because see, I had also taught international relations when I was teaching at Goa University, but like they're a full-fledged international studies department. They organize talk on one silly things, like if somebody has signed one partnership, like India signed with partnership with Bhutan, they will share one talk on that, or some kind of function on that. But you see, for until December, January, even February, there was not one meeting. See, you don't take the support stand of Palestine. Even if you don't take, at least tell the students that what is the conflict, what has happened, what is the historical context to it. Whether they choose to become the cog in the propaganda, and they choose to completely remain silent on the world's greatest genocide which is happening till now. And then they teach papers such as peace and conflict. I was like, that you teach papers such as peace and conflict, and like you are not even bothered about what is happening in Gaza. So I'm just trying to tell you. So means my recommendation. See, if any international relations academic is watching this, or if you may watch this, I would recommend that please, you are deficient in vitamin D and calcium. You need to have these supplements so that you can grow a spine. Means what is the use of
I
your
think, and
intellectual?
I would, yeah, I
What
would
is
like to
what is
add
the
to what
use
you're
of your?
saying,
Yeah,
Shilpa,
yes, yes, yes,
that the very fundamental function of academia is to present all sides of the story and different perspectives to the students, and then allow them and give them the tools to inculcate their analytical skills and their perspective, not coaxing them on what to believe, but making them understand how to understand what to believe. So, I mean, what you're telling to me is increasingly alarming as well. I mean, I myself have been totally shocked at uh, the silence that I see in India about Palestine, this entire conflict and the entire genocide that's taking place. It shames me as an Indian because I felt proud. I've always felt proud. Historically, I read up about whatever happened, and I was very proud that us as Indians, when we became a independent country, one of the first things that we did was recognize Palestine, and we were
yes,
working hard at that stage. So it takes immense courage to take a stand back then, and today we are just like completely spineless amoebas as citizens, barring you and me and a few others, but mostly people are so spineless.
yes, yes. Especially, I should not say, but see, in Goa, means I really was really, really upset that, like, what is the use of your degrees and everything? At least talk something about 40, 50 thousands of people, innocent children in hospital are being burnt alive, and like, what means, what will means you are getting a salary, I'm fine, you are academic, I'm fine, but at least something should shake your soul, no? Something should. How come it doesn't happen? So that's why, I mean, for me, it was really, really surprising that how it could
Yeah.
happen.
I think it's just the complete complacency that comes from the culture of doing the bare minimum, as we were just discussing some time back. That's
Yes,
what
yes.
we've been reduced to. Um, which brings me to my last question, Shilpa. Uh, what would be your message to women in public life? And would you say is it worth being outspoken? At the end of this conversation, how what would you say? You know,
Yes, yes. Thank you for this interesting question. So I think means again, I would say that this entire transition can happen through education. And when at university level you are creating such a lull environment and you're reproducing all the toxic epistemological and power relations in the same rancid manner, means you see how women are supposed to think. Because see, you have to understand that talent is something many times inherent also, like maybe because of your struggle and circumstances. Like I was born in AFPA controlled Manipur, so I had seen the
Hmm.
struggle, the army, and all those things from earlier. So that affected my, what you can say, understanding to develop a critical reasoning or something like that. But not everybody gets such kind of exposure. So they can get such kind of exposure in classroom where the multiple ideologies are contested and debated. But you see what has happened to academia. Even with the coming of new education policy, they said that we promote critical reasoning. We are seeing what is happening to academics who are doing some critical reasoning in the classroom. It's not just it's not just
You
me.
forgot
Means
it's only on paper.
it's only on the paper. So means it's very very important. I think that the classroom has to transform. And I would say that, see, one thing that I have to say that under in capitalism, the kind of social relations that we have means people tend to maximize their benefits and they tend to cut down on their social responsibilities. So means as a women
Yes.
also you are not autonomous from it. Women also tend to do something in a very robotic, monotonous manner, like getting married or getting married to somebody who is well educated, rich, or wearing this lehenga for wedding, like, or going for, so means going for a movie, going for a date.
Nothing
Means because
against
see, I used to
Vegas.
teach. Yeah, like I used to. I had lot of. Means I have a lot of female students also. No, so I always intervene and I tell them, like, means, are you happy with your life? Like this only. Means I question them that how. I mean, but I'm just telling you, despite my brainwashing of 2 3 years, I see them following the same role, getting married to a person of their own caste who is rich and who is that, and then reproducing the same gender roles that their family, even some of the students that I had a lot of hopes with. So that's why I would say that means the first thing that we can do is to create a radical discourse at whatever level. Like if we organize talks like this also, this is the platform. If academia cannot do that, we can create such kind of platforms where we discuss openly that what should be done. So I think so every woman, they already have their share of struggle in their lives. They should learn from those struggle. They should develop a
Absolutely.
iron will. They should run, because see, womenhood is something which is already in, what you can say, in a power equation in capitalism, which is tilted against them. So their existence itself.
Yes.
But what happened that they get restricted merely to feminism question or gender question. They don't become political. So I would say, see, I
Yeah.
always used to tell my female students that rather than the onus on boys to become political, they are already political. The onus is on you to become fiercely political. Like if you see,
Yeah.
if somebody, like if Obama is, like if I just tell you like Kamala Harris, or boys will know in my class everything about Kamala Harris and Biden, but girls will, what, who is he, because they are talking about their, like, they're talking about like normal random girly stuff despite the classroom. So means it becomes like little difficult. And I think the socialization also which is happening, like Karwa Chauth is today, the
Yeah.
serial, the culture, means I would say that the cultural means what you can turn also, that we have
Conditioning.
seen the conditioning, Ekta Kapoor serials and all those, means what you can say, a very very regressive
Sas
reactionary
Bahu.
portrayal, ha, saas bahu. So I would say that most of my female students who come from rural background, they were fan of these TV shows, and like they used to think that they are those bahus, that their task is to become those bahus. I mean, I'm not against that, but when you have come to university, you can be bahu also, but you can also be a politically empowered, politically conscious, and radical person. Because if we have these kind of women, we can change the world. So that is my thing, because
No,
you are
absolutely.
50% of, you are 50%, means you cannot push the men only that you have to take care of things. At least intellectually, you have to debate, you have to put a alternative, have to produce a radical discourse. So that is what means I see my duty, and that's why I follow this duty despite I'm in academia. So I try to use academia as a platform, and despite, you know, that what I have faced, because I have tried to use academia as an important platform to disseminate my ideas. But obviously, like,
Absolutely.
yeah, the
But at
platform
the
that
end
you
of
are
it, is it
running.
worth it?
Yes, yes, I absolutely see. Why rancid life? See, some my mother or my suppose if my mother or some relative will say that means she became a storm of the eye. So I told I'm always the in the storm of the eye. Means this is something which gives me meaning to my life. Means I cannot live a rancid, meaningless life. It's okay if I'm outcast. If it's okay if I'm treated as a witch and there's a political witch hunt. These are part and parcel of life. And I think if you are firm on your convictions, it rattles. It rattles certain people, and it should rattle because that is our function. When you are radical, it means that your existence should rattle somebody. So some of my best friend, when this witch hunting happened, they said that this is not against the idea of what you teach. This is against idea of you. Means this is not an idea of against what you teach. This is against the idea of you. Your existence is the greatest threat for them. So I think every woman should
Absolutely.
try to have that kind of confidence, that kind of conviction where you don't fear anybody who see you as a threat, whether you should present yourself as a threat. So I would like to say this
Absolutely.
suggestion to all the women. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time and having this very interesting conversation with me today, Shilpa. And I'm really truly honored that you could do this with me. Um, it has been, I've seen your struggle over the years, and we've been sharing notes. I've shared my struggles with you as well, and it's as you were just saying right now, it's the fact that women and girls, like how they're conditioned from such a young age. It's just they're products of a capitalist system where they're supposed to fulfill a certain role, and if they digress from that, then they are really looked at in a very bad way or made into pariahs or whatever else. But the fact is that there is so much power in women speaking up when they become authentic and live authentically and deliberately in their lives, when they analyze critically, when they have empathy, all of that becomes so powerful. And that's, I think, something, I don't know, it's a sixth sense. As an academic, you might be able to say, but as a sixth sense, I feel that patriarchy and capitalism bunched together, they're very scared of women who have that self realization. So, and it's also the purpose of this very segment that I started, that we need to have women come out and share their stories. People need to know. They need to know what we go through, and not from a space of a victim, but what we fight against and still stand where we are with what we say and with what we do.
Yes. So can I speak for last 1 minute? Yeah,
Sure, sure.
so
Go
I would
ahead.
just like to tell those who are attending or those who will be attending that when I was facing this political witch hunt, Dev Surbi was the first person who came to express solidarity and to express support. Whatever resources were at her disposal, she tried to use that to protect me and to support me. And not only that, in a public dharna also, she spoke in favor of me. So means it's like that. If two women see like alone she was nothing and alone I was nothing. So two of us are team. So that way, if more and more women gets uh, join us, so it will be such a privilege for us to actually fight the regressive ideas and to have our struggle on for a more just, egalitarian, and world full of justice for all. See, we are not enemies of everybody. If we are
Absolutely.
against Islamophobia, if we are against, because we see the humanity of everybody, we are spreading
Yes.
love. You are
Yes.
seeing us with hate. You are seeing us with hate. But there is immense love in our heart, and that's why we are radical. That is something that everybody has to consider, that you we look like witches to you, but we have immense love. We have more love than the random women. We have more love in us than the random women, and that's why we feel strongly. So this
Absolutely.
image of
You can't
witch,
have
this
empathy
image of
without
witch,
holding love.
yeah, absolutely. So this witches are those who have publicly identified as witches and outspoken women. I would say that they have the highest amount of love for them. Even if for trans, if they want change, also they want it for the sake of immense love that exists in their heart. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, Shilpa, you are an absolutely amazing person on your own, and every woman is. And if we come together, we can be so much larger and bigger. And so, thank you for being a part of this and growing this segment and sharing your story today. I know it takes a lot of courage to come out and share in the public domain what you've been through, but really, thank you for that. And to all our viewers who watched this today, I request you to please like, share, comment, and let us know your thoughts. You can connect with Shilpa Singh if you're seeing her for the first time. She's very active on social media. She's on Facebook, and you can follow her there. You can follow me on my social media handles as well. Let us know. And if you've resonated with what you've heard today, please do share it with someone who would want to hear this conversation and would really benefit from something like this. And thank you so much once again, Shilpa. And I'll see you
Thank
soon.
you. Thank you. Thank you. I will also. So please subscribe to
Bye bye.
Devsurabhee's channel for more radical discourse. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Bye bye,
Bye.
everyone.